Hey guys, Sam from TMVC, Green Line Tactical, and Warrior Poet Society. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that, folks ask me all the time, and I kind of have to break it down and explain it, and when I do, they're like, oh, okay, I get it. The topic today is, why is night vision and all of the supporting accessories so expensive? And here we go. Like word of knowledge. The number one reason, or the first reason I listed, not necessarily the number one reason, but research and development. Research and development takes years and years and years. You're talking thousands, if not tens of thousands of man hours, along with, basically a lot of throwaway stuff that doesn't pass muster and stuff like that. So all the waste created in its research and development costs a lot of money, and these companies have to fork it over in order to develop it. So go in line with that, the materials used in its construction, and just to name a few, some of I've talked about in my other videos, the gallium arsenide, which is not a abundant material on the Earth's surface or on the Earth period. So you're talking about cesium and aluminum oxides and other gaseous forms of elements that is used in the construction of this stuff. A bunch of other proprietary stuff that they won't even tell me about. The next thing is the machinery needed. So the glass extrusion machines. There's only two places in the U.S., one in Roanoke, Virginia, and the other one in Tempe, Arizona. The Roanoke one is obviously Elbit Systems Americas, formerly ITT Harris, formerly ITT Excelis, and then the other one again is in Tempe. That's the L3 Harris facility. Those are the only two places in the U.S. that make night vision intensifier tubes. So the technical know-how to produce it, the guys that work at these facilities, I mean, they are physicists, they are scientists, they are engineers, they are very high-level, big-brain thinkers, and the material or the knowledge they have in their heads is also, it's pretty vast and pretty expensive to get into. I know quite a bit about night vision, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know everything about night vision. I'm still constantly learning stuff. They won't even tell me everything about it. It's taken years of, stuff to come out, and developing these relationships and talking to these guys for them to even, kind of peel back the curtain a little bit to me. So the client that it's developed for, we have to remember this stuff was not developed for pig hunters or LARPers. This stuff primarily was developed for the military, to go do bad things to bad people. Whether you're a ground guy, an infantry dude running around, or some type of other combat arms MOS, or an aviator, they needed the ability to be able to see things in the dark, and obviously not crash, $100 million aircraft. They don't really care about the people; they care about the equipment. So you gotta, a set of nods is pretty good insurance on a $100 million aircraft, as opposed to it flying into the side of a mountain. So there's that. The sensitive nature of the tech. I mean, this stuff is still very much ITAR controlled, so we don't necessarily want foreign governments, entities, powers getting a hold of the technical aspects of it, so that they can match us on the battlefield. Though that's becoming an issue to be talked about more and more these days. The near-peer threat is very much evolving, has evolved. It's a thing. It is definitely a thing. But also industrial espionage. You can damn sure bet that L3 Harris doesn't want Elbit Systems to learn how they make unfilmed technology and then replicate it and undercut L3. So a lot of this is company proprietary information, and they don't want it open source to foreign governments or to other companies. So think about that. The fact that it's analog technology. This is the only sector of technology that I can think of off the top of my head that analog is still winning out against digital technology. Digital technology has taken over just about every aspect of our lives in terms of sectors of technology, and digital processors are getting cheaper to build, they're getting faster, they're getting better in every way. But because gallium arsenide and not silicon is used, it's pretty, it's not as cookie cutter making a night vision intensifier tube. It's very much it's like baking a recipe, and if you screw up one little ingredient, it can really dick up the whole recipe. Whereas analog, you stamp it out, or sorry, digital text processors and stuff like that, the circuit cards and whatnot, you stamp it out, it's good. It's made by machines and or people on an assembly line in other countries. It's low. At this point, it's low-tech manufacturing. It's not necessarily low-tech technology, but the manufacturing needed to do it. It's not, mind-blowing. And then the last thing that I wrote up was military contracts. So, military contracts, these companies, they have to recoup their R&D costs. They have to recoup their materials and stuff like that. They have to pay their employees. They have to constantly develop new machines, collimation and grading machines and stuff like that, and upkeep that stuff. So, these contracts, military contracts, they're millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And because the military gets charged that, well, guess what? They're not going to necessarily charge the consumer sector any less than the military. So, a PVS 14 is still several $1,000s brand new. I mean, if you look at the M914 from L3, that's a $5,000 PVS 14. Now it does have a very good high performance tube in them, but those are mil spec, mil contract prices. And so if you want a mil spec, mil contract device, you're going to pay those prices. So there's that. But as of every year it's getting better and better. The consumer market is getting more and more into night vision, and they are, I wouldn't say they're driving the train. They're not driving the train, but they've at least hooked onto the caboose. And these companies and other companies are aware that the consumer market is growing. I'm not saying they're targeting the consumer market, but there are companies out there that are apt to listen to the consumer market. A couple of them, obviously, Acton Black is a really good example with the DTNVS housing. AB Night Vision is a really good example with their RNVG, their Mod 3 housing. B.E. Myers came out with the Mall C1 Plus, which is obviously a Class 1 variant of their Class 3B Mall DA X1 and stuff like that. And so they're aware that the consumer market will buy their products if they come out with a consumer available solution, and it stacks up well enough to the mil spec stuff. So if you like all this stuff, continue to buy it, because it'll help these companies take note that the consumer market is very much becoming more and more of a factor. So save your money, buy something good. Good night vision isn't cheap. Cheap night vision isn't good. This stuff is an investment, a long-term investment for the capability it gives you. Whether you're just driving ATVs and or maybe popping pigs, or you're a serious tactical shooter, or you're just a law enforcement military member that wants to buy their own equipment and use it because your unit's stuff sucks or whatever. But keep doing what you're doing. You'll continue to sort of push the train along, or at least take up the rear and be somewhat of a factor. And then maybe as time goes on, the consumer industry will buy more and more of this stuff, and it will become a major factor. So again, save your money. If you truly want this stuff, you can budget for anything if you just save properly, and buy what you truly want. Don't cut corners is my opinion, so you don't have buyer's remorse and end up selling it, taking a loss to buy what you truly want when you could have just saved for a little bit longer. But anyway, that is why this stuff, this really cool, nifty stuff, still costs a lot of money to this day. So hopefully that helps. Come train with me, whether it's Warrior Poet or Green Line. I'll get real deep in the weeds on some other stuff that I don't talk about in these videos, and we'll shoot some guns and have some fun. But anyways, wash your hands, and as always, Epstein didn't kill himself.